Hello guys and dolls, welcome back to Honey Badger 3D Print and Paint. Today we are taking a look at the complicated relationship that I have with the Falcon 22 watt laser. Before we get started, roll those credits. Okay, so first and foremost, this is a 3D printing channel. We are not going to become a laser engraving channel. There are a couple of laser engraving reviews that are coming up of different machines we've been sent, but I have a complicated relationship with lasers. I don't particularly like them for the most part. Whilst I think what they do is cool, I think specifically these types of lasers are too slow, too unsafe, and to be honest with you, too much of a pain to work out. So let's just get started with what this machine is spec-wise. Okay, so the working area of this laser is 400mm by 415, which is pretty large, but then we start to get to some of my bugbears really early on. So they do give you an okay pair of safety glasses. Those safety glasses do not wrap around. You will need to wear these safety glasses because there is a protective cover on the front of this laser, but not on the back. So if we start out with my first bugbear, it's that you have a 400 by 415 working area, and this is the honeycomb they give you. So if you want to use your full area, well, you're going to burn through your table. There's also a metal sheet that goes underneath this. That metal sheet is the same size as this piece of honeycomb. That is stupid. Okay, so let's go back to the specs. It's a 22 watt laser diode. It does that by stacking up multiple lasers on top of one another. I think there's 4 5-watt lasers in here that all go through a lens that parabolically does something, I don't really know, but it's a 22 watt laser output. That's effectively what it is. It does have an integrated air assist, which works pretty well. It isn't quiet, but it works pretty well. It does print pretty quickly. Because it's a 22 watt laser, you can just go that much faster. It claims it can go up to like 25,000 millimeters a second or something, or 25,000 millimeters a minute. Generally speaking, we are engraving at about 3,000 to 4,000 millimeters a second on about 80 to 90%. And then if we're cutting, we drop that down to about 800, and it's cutting through the 3mm basswood pretty easily. This is actually 3mm ply, but basswood and ply are kind of the same things. But then we get to some of the things that it claims in safety features that just aren't fundamentally true. So there are 3 lights on the front of this machine. One of them is for the lens. So if the lens becomes obscured or there is smoke that obscures it, there's supposed to be an alarm that goes off. The lens thing just kind of flashes. You reset it by the button up here, and then it stops. The fire one, that is supposed to, as soon as it detects fire, supposed to shut off the machine altogether. This one flashes red and does not stop. Then you have the air assist, so that is to detect whether or not air is flowing or not. It doesn't stop the machine if the airflow thing goes off. It's just telling you whether or not the airflow is going or if it isn't. That auto shuts off after about 2 or 3 minutes of the machine not actually printing. I haven't had it shut off whilst it's going. The air assist does work fairly well. It means you can get some really clean cuts and some really clean engraving. And then we get to why my relationship with this is complicated, because I'll show you some stuff that this has done in a minute. But the things that it's done, like a pair of glasses or like a really nice Jack Daniels presentation box, are actually kind of cool. And they're really clean. And it does a really good job at what it's doing. I'm using Lightburn. I am by no means a laser engraving veteran. So I am still learning about how to use the software, about how to get the most out of the machine. But even a novice like me was able to get some fairly cool stuff out of it pretty quickly. Certainly things that I feel are at a level where you could consider selling it on Etsy or something like that, and you would probably be okay. And with a little bit of extra work and a little bit of know-how and a little bit more effort and learning, you get to a stage where actually, you know, it's pretty good, and you know, it'll do what you need it to do. I do think it is essential, and I do mean essential, to upgrade the honeycomb on this printer to something that is the correct size. Otherwise, you're only really ever going to be printing stuff that's small, or you're going to have to go out and buy a larger piece of aluminium sheet. The problem is that if you have a large piece of aluminium sheet underneath this and it drops off the side, your material might bow, or you might get reflections off of the stainless steel on the desk, and that could cause all sorts of problems. I maintain that these lasers are so incredibly dangerous. This is a class 4 laser product, which means that there are some countries you can't import this because it is classed as an industrial tool. Okay? So I want to be so clear, this machine should never be left unattended. It should never be left just printing away. You should always be wearing your glasses, and you do need to watch this all the time. It's like a toddler with a Molotov cocktail, and just at any point it just goes, I'm going to burn down the living room. Like, you know, it's so dangerous. This has a key start, which I guess is a safety precaution that people can't use it if you don't want them to. It also has an emergency stop button, and then there are you can obviously stop things because I've been using this one tethered. You can print offline, write your G code to an SD card, put the SD card in the side and press print, but you can only have one file on there at any one time. And frankly, it's quite fiddly because there's no screen to tell you what you're printing or what you're doing or anything else. Much easier, much safer to control it from Lightburn. That will give you your progress updates and how far along you are and everything else. So let's just take a quick look at some of the things we have done with this so far. Okay, so we tried to do a variety of things here. So let's start with a purely cutting piece. So this here is obviously a happy birthday sign. It is done in 3mm basswood or 3mm plywood for the UK guys. It has come out really clean, really nice. This was done at 800mm a second on 80% laser power. It cut through first time, did really good. This is a bit more of a blended one. So this is a cut, which is really fine, and then a nice thin engrave as well. So that's done really well. That's the Alien versus Predator, and you can make them kiss. Which, yeah, it's fun. Then we did these silly glasses. So you can, this is a combination of cutting and engraving. There is actually a line around the lens, around the actual glasses themselves there. Hold on, there we go. You can buy hinges because these are cutouts here, and you could make them folding. We just end up gluing them together because, I mean, come on. This is it cutting some fretwork, and this has done a really nice job. There's no engraving on this. This is all cutting. Even the back, there's no scorch marks. The air assist is absolutely doing its job here. Done a really nice job. These are super thin, and it's done a really nice job of doing that. We engrave on some steel here. So this is metal. This was done at 3000mm a second on 100% laser, and you can see that has done an absolutely beautiful job. There was no pre-treat on this or anything like that. There's no pen on it or any of that to etch it in. This is etched on, not coming off, and it has done a really, really nice job on that. Super fine. All the details there, really, really good. And then finally, we have the Jack Daniel's presentation box. So you can see there's some nice fretwork there in the side with the cuts. This all fits together beautifully, again in a 3mm basswood, and this slides up nicely for all of the inside there as well. A really, really nicely done. You could very easily just cut out, you could very easily just remove this fretwork and do custom logos or to and from and whatever. And you could, I mean, that to me is ready to sell on a site like Etsy or at a craft fair or something like that. Like that is, I was really blown away with how well it did that. And again, having the combination of engrave and cut all in one, did a beautiful job. Lightburn makes that really easy to do. So I highly recommend that you buy the pro version of, you buy a real version of Lightburn. It's well worth it. They put a lot of time and energy into that software. Please, you know, if you are going to be laser engraving, Lightburn really is a great option, super easy to learn. And there's loads of resources out there as well. So let's get back to it. So as you can see, the machine is capable of really fine detail, and not just on wood, but even on stainless steel. And this is plate steel, this is thick. This even came out really nice. And again, I can't argue with the results, but I don't feel comfortable whenever this is on. I cannot turn this on and go and make a brew. I have seen the lens warning come up. I've seen the fire warning come up. It does not stop the printer. I hate the fact that there is a lens cover at the front, but not a lens cover at the back. I don't really understand why that is. Because it means that providing you're in front of the laser, you're generally protected, but you still need to be wearing your glasses. But if you're at the back of the laser, not at all. Absolutely not at all. Now, if you've got this on a desk against a wall, you could debate that's not a big deal, but not everybody does. Some people's craft tables are in their garages or whatever, and that to me does present a material risk. I don't dislike laser engraving. I just think that at the point it's at now, these remind me of the old ANET i3s, which is that we are moving towards safer lasers. We're moving towards safer setups with the right sort of thermal runaway and everything else that was sort of eventually came, and MOSFETs and all of that sort of stuff that came later. And where we are right now feels like we're in a bit of a first generation phase. And they are getting better. So we reviewed the Atom stack on here. We've actually got a 2 trees laser coming, and we've got the Laser Pekka, the Laser Pekka 3 that we're in the process of reviewing as well. And those are generational jumps each time. Each time they get more accurate or more safe or quicker or more powerful or whatever. There seems to be a real rush to slap the most powerful laser humanly possible onto these machines. There is already a 40-watt version of this machine that is going out to different reviewers. We've already refused that. This laser at 22 watts is more than powerful enough for really anything that we need to do. Once you get to a 44-watt laser, as far as I can tell, all you're doing is engraving metal at that stage. Or you're using your laser at 20 or 30% power to cut out, various laser etch designs. I mean, look, as a package, it's good. It has auto homing on X and Y. It's very easy to adjust the offset. It actually comes with a little staircase thing that tells you if you're the thickness of the basswood or anything else. But then there's the obvious issues. We don't have extraction here, and this doesn't have an enclosure. When you are cutting plywood in the UK, or basswood in America, depending on what you want to call it, the glue that's in the very cheap plywood contains formaldehyde. So whilst you're cutting it or burning it or whatever, all those carcinogens are just going straight up. You need to be using this in a well-ventilated area. Really, it should be in an enclosure that is also ventilated. It's actually a conversation we're having with Two Trees about they sell an enclosure for their machine. I'm hoping that they're going to send that to us as well, so we'll see something perhaps a little bit more complete. This feels like it is half of what you need. It feels like you need a full-size honeycomb bed to protect whatever surface you're engraving on. It feels like you need a enclosure, and that enclosure should have extraction as well. You need to be using it in a well-ventilated area. Again, if it was in an enclosure, I could even forgive the fact that this didn't have cover for the back of the lens. I could forgive that because it would be in an enclosure, and therefore there would be, you know, that enclosure would have a blacked out back piece. I can't see behind it. Like, I'd feel safer then. The same goes as I'd feel a little bit safer if it had extraction when it comes to things like the fire sensors and things like that, or the smoke sensors, because the extractor would be pulling all of that out, and if there was a fire, you know, it's going to be easier to contain, and it's going to be easier to put out. We have a fire extinguisher in the garage, so that if we are working with this and it decides to betray us at any one time, we can put it out. But I just feel like this is half of what you need. It's the beginnings of what you need, and it's nicely designed, and it does work well, and it does cut well. But it doesn't feel like it's quite there yet, and I feel like it encourages people to treat this less than what it is, which is a really dangerous tool. It feels like it's trying to make this laser engraver more casual, and I don't think I agree with that. This is super dangerous. To say it's a class 4 laser. There are countries where you can't even import these because a class 4 laser is a banned product for civilian use. So if I'm rating this particular machine, I would give it a 7 out of 10. It does perform really well, but I really do feel like unless you are a person who wants to be standing here for hours just watching this like a hawk, I feel like we've got a long way to go until the safety is at a level where I start to feel really comfortable. It's not going so fast that if you're trying to do a full laser engrave that you're going to do the whole thing in 30 minutes. You're not. It's going to take a while, which means you are sitting here for an hour, 2 hours whilst it does its thing. And that's really boring. And it's not what I want. I don't want to feel like my tools are at any point just going to throw a Molotov cocktail into the room. So look, the machine is available from Creality. It's $1,200. So it's not, again, it's not a, well, let's just give it a shot. How bad could it be? You know, it's worth just having a crack to get into it. This is a machine that if you have had an older machine, say a 5-watt Atom stack or a 10-watt or something like that, you've started maybe a little Etsy store on the side, or you've started going to craft shows, and you need something that's going to be able to go faster, but you are already versed in how you want your lasers to work and everything else, I think this is a great upgrade for you. I don't necessarily think it is the kind of thing an amateur should start with. But then, to be honest with you, I don't know how an amateur should start laser engraving, because I've made a lot of mistakes, and there really hasn't been anybody to correct me. I've just been, again, watching YouTube videos and things like that. So, look, if you guys are already experienced with lasers, you want something that's a complete package. This has got the air assist, and you know, and it comes completely assembled. You just dock your You just dock in your tool head and off you go. This is a great package. It really is. It's a good laser. But I can't get past the complicated relationship I have with lasers as a whole. So take from that what you will. We've got some other stuff coming up on the channel with lasers. We've got the Laser Pekka 3, which is really cool. That's a fiber laser. And then we've also got a Two Trees TTS Pro coming, another 20-watt laser with a few extra features, and comes as a more complete package. So keep your eyes peeled for that. So thanks very much for joining us, guys and dolls. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll catch you on the next video.